Okay,
Yeah.
we'll call the meeting to order. We all stand for the flag salute. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Appears that we have a quorum. I just called Ruth Kinder and she is getting off work and over in Bader and we'll get over here as soon as she can. She'll most likely come in late. Well, obviously. Okay. Okay, according to my agenda here, it says call for other business items.
Something that came up that wasn't on the agenda.
Okay, anything? No. Did everyone see the agenda?
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Okay, we have approval of consent. I assume that's by unanimous consent of the November meeting minutes. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay. Let's see, reports. We got a report from Mayor DeVore.
Yes, indeed. So being my first meeting with the park board since I was sworn in, kind of just wanted to set forward what kind of my thoughts and expectations are for the park board. Kind of what I would love to see happen with this board to kind of help out with communications with the city itself. I want to see the park board be able to assess and discuss things that'll improve the park and encourage visitors to come to the park. I want the board as a group to come up with detailed plans and ways to basically shepherd those through to maximize our amount of time and to also keep in mind the budget that the park has. I know that there are going to be some things that are going to come up, especially like the last 24 hours. We want to be very mindful to keep a reserve in the budget just in case there are any major disasters that happen that are going to require repairs or things of that nature to the park. So, I mean, we may have a great budget, but we always want to keep that reserve for just in case. And since we cannot guarantee what our revenue will look like year to year, I mean, that's going to fluctuate. So that is another thing we need to be mindful of when spending to do the improvements in the park. And I know we can apply for grants and stuff, which is wonderful, but it's just something I kind of want people to keep in the back of their minds as we are looking forward and trying to figure out what's going to be the best assets that we can give to the park to help grow it. And I think that is all I have.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for Mayor?
Yep, as long as we know what our budget is.
How much is our budget?
Yeah. That's, and I believe that we had something in the agenda about the budget.
Yes.
Cover this.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, all right, I guess, can I allow the people in the
You have
audience?
public input at the end of the meeting.
Oh, they gotta wait till the end of the meeting. Okay. No talking now. Okay, let's see, all right, let's move on, I guess. New business, the OPMA, whatever that stands for. Can you make sure that when you put acronyms and things like that in the minutes that we say what they are so
Yes.
that people who read this can.
So there are 2 trainings that you are required to take as commissioners, appointed officials, elected officials, and one is the OPMA, which is the Open Public Meetings Act. And then the other one is on public records. And both of those are required. I believe that Rachel emailed you links to those. If you didn't receive those, we can send them again. And they are self-certifying, so you'll take it's the honor system. At the end of the seminars, there's a link to print a certificate, and you print out that certificate, sign it, and bring it up to Rachel in the front office, and she'll put them in your files.
It's all online.
It's all online. So if she hasn't done that, I will make sure that she sends you links to those two trainings
Do
Okay.
you know how often they need to be renewed?
every 2 years.
Okay.
Yes, I would like to request the links to those.
Okay, I'll just link it. I'll
Thank
link
you.
it up again.
That's great, good.
Let's see, an item here is city email addresses for park board members.
So on the heels of the public records training that you're gonna go through, your personal emails are currently subject to public records requests. And generally, that's not an issue, but we really don't want personal email addresses for city business floating around. So I will be sending setup information for each of your email addresses. There will be two options. You can check your email on a web page. And that's the most straightforward way to do it. The second, if you're a little more fancy and would like it with you on your computers or on your phone, we could actually add your email address to whatever email client you currently use. And given your preference, you'll just need to let me know and I can help with that second piece. And what we generally do for the council members is that if there's an important message or when your packets are ready, I do send text messages saying, please check your email. So you do get notifications, and I plan on doing that for both the Planning Commission and the Park Board. But it's also your responsibility to check your emails occasionally. So that, again, if you choose to continue to use your personal email, you're welcome to. Just wanted to make sure that you know that you're subjected to public records.
Thank you, that's good, thank you.
Can I add just a clarification that until you get the training completed, it's really important that you recognize that when we are responding in the email, that we don't do anything that acts as though we are trying to make a decision or look for other people to join us in our decision, because that constitutes a closed meeting.
Right.
And so, other than responding, saying I'll be there or something to that nature, it's probably better to avoid responding too much with your email.
And you'll find from City Hall that they will be sent, if you're getting a group message, it'll be blind copied. So if you do respond, it's going to come back to the sender. So you won't run the risk of establishing a forum.
You've been doing that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you'll notice at the bottom of my emails, I do write the distribution list.
Mhm.
So at least you know who's getting those emails. And that goes for, Ron's comment also goes for text messaging. So group texts are a no-no. So,
Cindy, a question I have is, you were like the rest of us here, well, almost all of us, are volunteers. Are you going to continue in the capacity that you are doing right now? Or that's
we are, Carly is ramping up, and we'll be taking over meeting minutes, getting packets put together for all of the city meetings.
Right.
So, but I'm her I will be her backstop.
Yeah. You're excellent.
Yes.
Okay, any other? Anything?
Good on that.
Okay, thank you, Cindy, for doing all you do.
Yes, absolutely.
Next item is Stephanie, and
Yeah.
tell us about yourself and why is it you want to be sitting up here.
Well, it's nice to meet everyone. I'm Stephanie. I moved to Toledo about 2 years ago with my husband. He is from Winlock, so I'm familiar with the area. I've been coming here for 18 years now. And we love it. You know, we've talked about we're never gonna get rid of our house, and I really want to make more connections to the community. I have free time where I'd like to help give back. And I would just really like to get to know this area better, get to know the people better, get to know the community better. And you know, being neighbors with Mary, she's been a godsend. I love talking to her. And when she mentioned this, I thought it was a really good opportunity to kind of step in and help out as much as I can.
Okay, yeah, do you know us? I mean, you know Mary, but you don't.
We did just get to meet before the meeting started. So yeah.
Is it my understanding that it would be that we would just pass the decision onto the council? Is that correct?
Yeah, I do, if you, so if you would like her to be considered by the mayor as an appointment, go ahead and make a motion.
I would like to make a motion.
And I certainly was second.
That the city
Any further discussion?
consider.
All in favor?
Aye.
And so, Stephanie, Carly will give you an application for a volunteer.
Okay.
And that'll go to Sherry, and then it'll go for city council,
Mhm.
and
Great.
And the next city council meeting is next Tuesday.
correct.
At 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You're meeting on Tuesdays just in January.
Just the first 2 weeks,
Yeah,
because we're so cool.
Okay. All right, well, let's move on here. Review of park board rules and policies.
So back in April of 23, I sent the cover email to Emily and Mike with these rules, and I believe it kind of got lost in the dust. It's been resurrected. These rules are actually in Firefly, because I did need something. And during the Firefly reservation process, one of the final screens during the checkout is acknowledgement of these. So people have been acknowledging them. So they've also been reviewed by Buzzard's office back in April. So if there are changes that you would like to make, additions, that's really what this agenda item is for, and I will make those updates and bring them before council for approval.
Otherwise, these have been approved by the council.
No,
Oh, they have.
no, because you didn't make a
We
recommendation.
can do that.
Oh, what do you guys think?
I have a question I wanted to ask Mike if he's familiar with the, had anything that he thought would impact your department works.
Not really. I mean, I think that anything that comes our way, we should be able to. I mean, it might not be on that second, but
Yeah, okay.
as long as that,
Okay, there's nothing that in the rules that were created.
it didn't seem to be, no.
You see something that,
I see several things,
Mhm.
yes. One was fireworks, there's nothing about fireworks. The other thing was, the wording of owners, maybe should be responsible for cleaning up their pets. I think the transportation, all park patrons are required to have motorized transportation throughout the course of their stay. I walk to the park. I don't drive to the park. I think that whole thing should be stricken.
well, that's.
In my opinion, that's my opinion.
No, motorized transportation, could be a bicycle.
Well, that's the whole, I mean, that's, so that whole
I
thing,
think, I agree with Emily, it's probably.
I do too.
I think it's moot, I think it should just be stricken.
Mhm.
Let's see, motorized vehicles. I think, are prohibited without permit in designated parking areas. I think that because of cheese days,
It's,
without permit should be applied to several areas.
but it's the campground, it's not the park in general. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah, it's, yeah,
Mhm.
so it's not the general rules for the whole park.
Mhm.
Because I would agree with you 100%, because we walk from our house to go down to the park, you know. But if somebody is camping in there, then we don't want somebody bringing 25 vehicles and parking them during cheese days in my camping space.
Exactly.
That's what it's trying to eliminate. So I think it's a very valid part. You mentioned the dogs. It does say that the owners have to clean up after their own, they must clean up,
I think stronger language,
they must.
I think she's saying to expand it, owners or responsible.
or responsible instead
Uh,
of must. Responsible,
or owners,
Owners must clean up after their pets.
are you thinking a responsible person? If it's not an owner,
that's just language, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's language with teeth,
yeah,
so, intoxicants. Designated in your campsite, I would say, and permitted areas. Because sometimes the Lions Club has alcohol in the
Kitchen.
kitchen. And sometimes people bring stuff into the kitchen there, so. Those are just my,
The use of the kitchen, is that considered camping?
that's a good question. Are there other rules for the use of the kitchen?
Can't differentiate that in fire.
Sorry,
Can't differentiate
Okay.
different rules in fire.
okay. So these should be rules for the campground and the park.
And the kitchen.
When a person,
Mhm,
when
okay,
a person rents a RV spot, they have the right to use the kitchen as much as they want.
No,
oh,
that's,
well, if it's not already booked, sure.
and
I mean, technically, we would like the money from them, but it's really hard to police that,
Yeah, I understand that,
so.
but we don't consider it a part of the
So
normal.
we could add, if you haven't rented the kitchen, you can't use it. I mean, we could add that to the rules and regs.
All I'm concerned is that I see a need for a broader set of rules for just the general public coming down and using the park under normal day-to-day conditions, and more specific rules for a person that's gonna spend the night there and the 24 hours a day there essentially. I don't, I certainly would say that there isn't a place for a person to be drunk at all in the park if I don't have a campsite where I can be in my own campsite. And because I paid especially for the right to be intoxicated in that particular area. But if there's a drunk out on the playground, pushing his kid off the swing, then we should have the capacity. I just see that as different than
So there could be posted rules at the park for walk-ins. And just the statement that, you know, by utilizing these facilities, you're honoring these rules and regs, and we can put that in the kiosk, I suppose.
yeah.
mhm.
That makes sense. Yeah. Because it's not just, the park is not just for camping, it's all
Right,
kinds of use.
No, and that's what is this supposed to cover the whole park? Or is it just supposed to cover when they're camping? And if it's supposed to cover when they're camping, I think we have to have strong limitations on parking. If it's because I don't want to see somebody invite all their friends to show up at my campsite at 7 o'clock on cheese days and take up every parking space and every bare spot around the park, you know, that was my only concern. And you had said, well, do they need to be registered or not?
Mhm.
You know, I guess we can have exceptions to every rule. Obviously, if somebody is there with a parade and they use the campground the night before, then they're gonna put their old car in the campground, it might not be licensed. You know, so there's exceptions to every rule, but my real concern has more to do with just trying to apply one thing, rules in general, and camping type rules, you know, when I go camping, I know that there are certain things, you know, one, state campground, if you're gonna have an extra vehicle, you're gonna pay $10 more, whatever. And I think these rules here are pretty well thought out. I think they're pretty good if what we're trying to apply it to, which is my understanding it is for campgrounds. If in fact we want to apply all the park rules, then this is probably not the document to do that in.
So would one of you like to volunteer to come up with a set of park rules? Because I think there are some in this document
Absolutely.
that apply there.
Mhm.
And I'm taking a hint from your mayor, and she would like you to be more active.
Mhm.
So if there's a volunteer that would like to come up with a general set of rules that could be posted in the kiosk for this general use, that would be great.
Can we, can we have like an executive session where we sit down and talk about these rules one by one?
Absolutely.
And work them out? I
Sure.
think, because we all have a little bit of different opinions. And I don't think that this is the best venue for us to hammer this stuff out.
Okay.
Well,
So if you'd like to table this and.
but not
So
for
you want us to-
long.
You want us to do a workshop?
Yeah,
Essentially,
can
that
we do a
does.
workshop or something?
Sure.
Because that way, because I also, to Emily's point too. When we're talking about motorized vehicles in here and we talk about trails and we talk pedestrians, bicycles, equestrians. And non-motorized modes of transportation. So we do need to make sure that we're comprehensive and that we include everything. The other thing I see is if this is going to apply to the park, not just camping, there are some other definitions probably that should be in here. That, those are just thoughts off the top of my head.
So I guess possibly not a motion, but a statement that you're tabling this agenda item. And I will send you the Word document that created that.
And then can we set up a meeting
Sure.
now so that we're ready for
I'd
that?
like to hear from Ruth there. so-
Yeah, since she's, yeah,
Well, I was, cause I just see this, I didn't know. There's some things in here, I agree that we need a separation from camping and to park, because this is a lot of, because people come in all the time and just use their park,
mhm,
they're pretty good, but
Walk around or-
yeah, they're walking
Yeah,
around and
yeah.
doing whatever, and they're, they're not coming in to do alcohol and stuff, so there's a lot of. I
Okay,
can
let's-
see a little bit of,
Let's put up a
differences.
workshop.
Mhm.
Well, I think Ruth, you are probably the most restricted as available.
just let me know
So-
what time you guys want it, like today was really strange, we had a power outage at the store, so I got out of working, so. So it's whenever,
And Stephanie, do you have any restrictions, do you think, assuming that someday you may?
I am, well, with owning this coffee truck, I make my own schedule, so
Right.
I'm pretty flexible.
It's like I'm retired.
it's great.
Okay.
Okay.
Any suggestion of a time for a gathering here? Day?
A week from now? Although that's a council meeting,
That's a council meeting.
council meeting day,
That wouldn't work. And they have a workshop starting at 4
okay,
on that day.
okay,
On Thursday.
the 18th? Or this Thursday, the 11th, sure, I can do that.
No, Okay, no.
Well, I have a granddaughter's birthday that day.
I was gonna say, how about Friday, because I'm off Friday.
Yeah,
Friday the 12th,
Friday the twelfth
yeah, work
works for me.
for you?
yep.
That also gives us the 24-hour notices that you need.
Okay.
Work for you too?
Mhm.
You know.
Fine.
If
You can
should
come.
somehow
Fine.
time, and place. We could meet here,
3:00.
Sure.
That work for everybody, since we meet at 3 on the 12th?
Yeah.
Okay,
And will the rules and regs be the only agenda item?
I think so.
I think so.
I don't wanna do
Usually
anything.
add a general discussion item as well,
Okay.
just to kind of cover your bases.
Okay.
But you do need to be specific since it is an open meeting.
We're not all the
Thank
way through the agenda yet, so.
We might come up with more.
Fair enough.
Cindy, are you aware if there are any current rules just for park use that is not?
I don't know,
The
Mike,
campground?
Mike, do you know if there's rules posted?
Over at the park, I mean, I think there is over in the playground.
There's some posted over there.
No, there is, as you enter the,
Mhm.
as you enter the park, there's a whole list of them.
Well, I thought there was some over by the playground too, or not anymore.
I don't remember seeing that on the playground, I just, when
Uh,
I drive there. I'm like,
So Mike, you want to
Exactly.
take the action to take a picture of that and
Sure,
reproduce it?
Mhm.
So that we have a copy of what's there, and what we're really talking about just in general is possibly having something like that. That would cover,
Or reaffirming what's there?
yeah, something like that, and then having something that was specific for camping, but we'll discuss that, of course, on Friday.
One other question I have, we have blank spots for ordinances. Can we determine which ordinances actually apply? It says under the provisions of Toledo ordinance number.
Yeah,
and
I did a cursory look through the ordinances and did not
Didn't
find
find
any
anything.
associated with park rules and regulations. And when I sent that to Buzzard's office back in April, they weren't aware.
All right.
I remember, we did one of them is how long you can stay in the park.
Well, that's a general code for the city that applies to the park as well.
Okay. Then we'll need to know that one too, yeah. Okay.
So Mary, just to follow up on your question, there will be an ordinance created to support this.
But we don't have one that we're
There-
revising at
and-
this point.
Generally, what we've been doing when we're not finding really old ordinances is the ordinance has a clause in it saying that it
It
supersedes anything.
Yeah, I saw a lot of those. Okay, that's good. Okay. I feel good about that.
Okay, so we will be meeting. Anything else on that? Okay. All right, we'll hash this all out on Friday.
Good.
Let's see, next item on the new business is, steps at the boat ramp to the gazebo area of discussion. This is something that I, observed when we had our, quad parade that, the mayor and, Santa and Mrs. Claus went to the gazebo to greet people and talk with people and all of that. The way you can get there is by, I think you have to walk clear around the restroom and then, don't you, or so?
It's over by the restroom,
Yeah.
the entrance to the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Just on the other side of the Christmas tree, and then it leads down to the gazebo, but nobody uses that, they just kind of bail over the side.
Right, and the side, especially in the winter, it's just grass and wet, slippery, and I see a lawsuit. So I think we need to put in steps there, probably a handrail, the whole 9 yards goes with that. So, Mayor, the more we need to budget that in my opinion.
I guess we would need to find out how much that would cost then.
Yeah.
And what kind of ADA requirements would be with it also, yeah.
We do have ADA access already.
Yeah. so
Right,
need
we already have the
yeah.
ADA, because that's, that ramp
Okay,
goes down. and
that's
up.
good, yeah, I get you.
Story people who go over the.
Not good.
Yeah.
Like
So I'm
us.
a Voting member of this, but there is an alternative to
Oh,
steps, which is a rail preventing people from entering that area.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
you gotta consider the
Thank
alternatives.
you for your.
However, to Cindy's point, well, they could just bypass the steps too.
Well, that's true.
So you don't really gain that much, you know?
Can I make a suggestion that we table this until Friday or next meeting so that us that are not familiar with exactly what you're talking about can go and look at it. And because, and I would think that if I understand it right, that we would probably end up making a recommendation to council, would we, rather than us making a decision to.
Well, again, Sherry mentioned that she would like a detailed proposal,
Detailed
Oh,
proposal.
okay.
which would be a recommendation to
Sure,
council
sure.
to approve the funding.
Sure.
Can I also make a recommendation to you guys? There is an RCO grant right now that's called the Boating Facilities Program that has a grant limit of $1 million, which is met with a matching requirement of 25%. And it was created in 1964, and currently every boat that goes and gets a license every year, part of that goes into this fund. So applications are due, or the applications open August 7th of this year. And they are due October 31st. The limit is $1 million.
We could
What
probably
they
cover.
do is you can renovate your current boating facility. So this is an option for you guys that I'm just putting out there. Matching details may include the following: applicants' labor, equipment, and materials, appropriations for cash, bonds, conservation features, corrections labor, donations of cash, land, labor, equipment, and materials, federal, state, local, and private grants. So, those are all the match details. So you can match money up to that. So you don't necessarily have to have your own money. You can match money to that. So you can find money. Eligible projects, development, dredging, parking permits, planning, ramps, which we need to fix ours, by the way, parking, staging, renovation, support facilities such as restrooms, picnic facilities, primarily used for guests. So this is something that you should really think about using in your plan if you want a good plan. And so throw it out there for you guys. RCO.
That's good, okay.
Okay, we'll beat this to death on Friday, okay?
Okay,
Discuss.
I'll get by today.
So you want this as an agenda item for Friday as well?
Knew there was something else in that. Unfinished business, Toledo Tel status.
You know what? I'm kind of out of that because I think we realized that was bigger than the park board.
So Sherry, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so I have been in contact with Toledo Tel. I'm actually working with them currently. I know that they should have already been down to the park to take a look at the cameras. They are looking at some options that's going to be the best way to keep the power to them and get them all charged up. They are looking to replace the cameras that we have at the park with the newer ones, as well as there would be 4 of them at the boat launch as well. But yeah, there are talks going on behind the scenes. They have been a little difficult to deal with, but I feel like I've got the right person working with me now, and so he is keen to help me out with anything that I need. So if there is anything from the park board that you guys like, as far as where you would like the cameras, if there's certain areas that you feel should probably be focused on more than others. But I believe right now we have 2 cameras there, which we were planning to stay with the 2. And then if there is areas where we're having issues, we can add up to 2 more later on down the road without any problems.
Okay, what about, have you guys had discussion, Sherry, about the Wi-Fi? That was
We have.
concern.
They are that one's going to be a little bit difficult. They're trying to find the best way to make that work because it's not going to be as simple as just switching passwords for the security purposes. So he's working hand in hand with one of their internal guys to see what's going to be the best route for that. But they know that is what we are after. So they're doing everything they can to make that happen for us.
There you go.
All right. Any news on Wiggle Stop, the Wiggle Stop grant?
So there was an issue with the contract. It had verbiage about being a nonprofit, which the city can't do, so they are revamping the contract. That should be coming into Rachel pretty much any day now. There's also a mandatory meeting on January 31st that Rachel is working with Joe Jones on attending. And that's all I know at the moment.
Okay.
And it is a reimbursement grant as well.
Okay. Okay, looking at other business, informational 2023 parks revenue expense recap.
I don't have any, I have nothing on that.
Yeah, it's mostly informational. So just a reminder that you are an advisory group.
Right.
So even though you have numbers in front of you that you can ask for, those funds are needing to be approved by council. So just want to make sure that everyone's aware of that. It's not a checkbook.
Definitely not.
We need to know what, well, we can figure out our revenue, and that's one of the main reasons we decided to keep the park open during the winter hours, is to get a full year's scope of what's going on.
Right.
And then, of course, then there's the expense end of it. Figure that out.
So and it looks as though 2023 and projection for 2024 is fairly flat, just for that same reason, is that we really kind of don't know how things are going to ramp up.
Yeah.
As we continue to get our sea legs.
Ruth, have you seen any campers during the winter here since, say, the one Veterans Day?
No,
There hasn't been.
zero reservations.
Yeah.
Now, there's been a lot of reservations, but they're from May, June, July. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Okay.
And no drop-ins, no.
No drop-ins.
So there have been people using the park, they just haven't been camping.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, let's see, other business here, we have a walk in the park management discussion. This is something we can also talk about. Right in this.
Wow.
course, that's still not till September, so in the summer, but. I was looking back through some of my stuff, and I have the emails that were exchanged on the first walk in the park back in May of 2016. And it's interesting to see what was said then and what was proposed and all of that, so maybe we can talk about that briefly on Friday. Get into-
So you want that added to the agenda for Friday as well?
Sure.
That's
Wow.
It's looking.
I would rather table that until like next month.
We can.
And yeah, because I think we've got a lot going on Friday. I think that we need to address the park rules
Okay.
before we get more people into the park.
And then the last item on other business is future Christmas lights at boat launch. Yeah, we had for those of you who went to the quad parade, we got everybody there, and then we did the big countdown and light up the tree, and everybody 3, 2, 1. It was kinda- Yeah, it was pretty weak. I mean, you had what you had, but that's.
Yeah.
Was what we should do. Now, I think, and Joe Notch is a guy that's been looking into this. I think Vision Toledo gave the city a lot of decorations at some point in the past, but I don't know what it wrapped to. It was my thing, so.
I know Joe donated when I first came here, when I first started doing the tree. He gave a bunch of the bigger bulbs and he bought a bunch of lights that have since failed. So basically back then, the bulbs, the wind just takes them out.
Yeah.
I mean, every year, so they're dwindling and so basically a whole revamp. I think I was talking to Joe and I think he's of the same opinion, you know. It would be nice to get a whole new set of everything. And the lights, the tree's getting really big. What really has to happen with the tree is it really needs to be trimmed
Yes.
back. Instead of a big blob, it needs to actually.
Instead of a bush.
So, that being said, it would look a lot better and, of course, the lights, I don't know if you could get too many lights on it. We did build a star for the top. And I made a rack to, hang the lights down. As you saw them going the other way this year. And, we made a star for the top, but we didn't have any lights for it, so, it was a good idea. So maybe next year,
Yeah.
following as well.
Okay.
We can get some lights and it would be, I was looking at it and the way we have to power the tree is from the gazebo with the extension cords laying on the ground. I don't know if there's a way to, I don't want to say pirate, but get some power and come underground and put a receptacle or underneath the tree. So we don't have anything laying on the ground. That's something else that we could look at.
Right.
Doing. So,
Put that with steps.
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
Maybe the high school will make you a tree.
That's right, the welding.
actually, that wasn't too bad. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was.
But
Okay.
it would, you know, and another thing too, suggestion, I don't know if the grade school or any of the other kids, you know, the younger grades would be interested in making some ornaments for the tree,
Oh, yeah.
as an art project or something, you know, out of course, plastic or whatever, and put their name on it or whatever, and
Sure.
that might help fill it up a little bit too.
I think we'll find that the new owners of the building are gonna be pretty open to ideas. I'm not volunteering in anything, but I know Rick and Tanya have been be gracious as far as
Yeah.
letting us do things and
I'm confused. I am so confused. What building?
at the boat launch, the big building.
The metal building.
Oh. I don't even know.
They bought the building across the road. They bought that building. It wasn't
Right across the
theirs.
street.
For storage for their hardware stuff.
Right on the corner where you.
Yeah.
Gonna do a gardens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, definitely, I think we should put it in the budget. You know, we should consider for our 2024 budget when we're looking at the money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely consider it as, you know, what our mayor said, we will need to give a detailed, like how much it will be before we present it to her. We'll need to know how much.
Right, and maybe somebody could look at the design of the lights.
Yeah.
Instead of doing the indoor, outdoor, you know, hanging them up and bringing them down, half the covers pop off and. You know, the wires break and everything
Yeah.
from getting whipped around in the wind, so they really need to be. Like made for,
Industrial.
yeah, and that way they'll
Lights, yeah.
last a few years too, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Put them up and take them down correctly and store them and. You know,
Okay.
take care of them, so.
But if you buy them after Christmas, you can just get the new ones for next year, and then when you take it down, just throw them in there.
Well, that's kind of how it's been working lately. I mean, the wind absolutely kills that tree, so getting it
Yeah.
trimmed and,
yeah,
you know, and making it an actual Christmas tree
Christmas
instead of
tree,
just something you throw lights on would be good.
yeah,
Because-
it's a nice idea.
When I first started doing it, I think it was Joe Notch, myself, my wife and my mother-in-law went over and we decorated the whole gazebo, the tree, the little house that was there and all that. And you know, there wasn't a lot of people, but here in the last couple of years with Santa Claus and then the quads, it's really drawing, you know, there's getting quite a group over there, so.
Can I make a suggestion? I don't know, I'll look into it. I know somebody that does, commercial tree lighting. I can talk to him and he could even probably come out and what he would do, every year, it would cost every year, but they would put up all the lights. And then they'd take them down and then they would save them for you for the next year.
That's awesome.
So that leaves somebody else getting up there and putting the lights up, but I don't know the cost or anything. We would have to probably look
have
into
to
it.
check that.
And he can always get an estimate of what it costs to
You
do.
think you could find that out by Friday?
Give you a 20% discount.
Sure, I know 1 year, when I used to use it for my building in Napavine, he goes, yeah, people started bringing them up on October, he used to give discounts. Starting in October because November, December's so busy.
The other thing is that there's a lot of places where they've gone to light wheels.
Mhm.
Where then you have an hour setting up 3 or 4 wheels. Uses less electricity, and because you have something on the tree that reflects, then you have
You don't
the
need
same
lights.
effect for a whole lot less.
The projection.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We should look into that.
Okay, lots of stuff to talk about here. Okay, any public input? Anybody who wanna, we got.
I would say my suggestion is to start thinking about tree trimming at the park, especially after the couple of, we're gonna go through some storms. Maybe after the last, I don't know, there'll probably be another big one after this, but do that, and then when that guy comes to trim, maybe he'll trim the tree at the boat launch, but we set aside some money for that this year, so I would say get on it this year because we did not do that last year, so.
Cindy, you were next.
Yeah, so I would like to make a recommendation that instead of kicking some of these agenda items to a workshop, there's no reason why these can't be working meetings. So I just want to make that suggestion.
Yeah.
Mike?
You know, to add on to her, so Tim sent me a message today. There's a tree over, a couple of fir trees over by the south end. And some of the branches broke and they're hanging down, but they didn't break all the way off the tree. So we went over there and we tried pulling them off. We can't get up high enough to cut them. They're like way up there. So we can maybe tie a rope to the backhoe and try to pull them down. you know, which is probably a disaster thing, looking for a place to happen. Or the gutters, I think you mentioned the gutters on the bathroom and all that need to be cleaned again this year. So, I don't know where the budget's at or anything, but, I was looking at, since we rent the man lift for the tree, it would get up high enough so we could trim those branches off at the tree safely, and then we could probably do the gutters and all that in the same way. Just a suggestion, otherwise we're gonna have to get the branches down somehow. They fell down and they're
They need
stuck.
to come down.
They need to come down, so.
Yeah, later on.
So I'm still extremely confused as to who makes that decision to hire somebody to come and do the trees. My understanding is we say to the council, this needs to be done. Do we need to say to the council, this is how much it's gonna cost? And it needs to be done? Do we go and talk to people about the bids? Or do we, just to the council, say, you need to, I mean, it seems to me that if we need to make a decision today, I would make a decision 4 or 5 real quick. But I don't think we have the authority to commit that money as much as we have the responsibility to pass on to the council that this is what we, or the mayor, and she could pass on to council, this is what we think we need to do. And I'm asking for clarification. I'm not trying to make a.
Exactly, Ron.
Let's see.
So you would have no idea how much it would cost. We have to get bids first. So we need to, you can make a recommendation to the council and the council will say, okay, that sounds awesome. We absolutely need to get someone to cut these down. Now, who do we find? Okay, we've got several people who want to get this job. And then we will give that job to the cheapest person.
Yeah,
And then
but
they
the
will-
question, Emily, I understand the process. Obviously, I was on the council,
Yeah.
but where my question is where, how much of that does this group do? I mean, what, you know, the mayor says, we want proposals, but do I go to a bid and say, well, we're thinking about doing this and so how much you want to bid? And then we gotta run it through the council. And if I'm the guy bidding, I would say, why don't you have somebody from there who can make a decision, come talk to me? Because if I own the tree service, that's what I would say. Because I'm not gonna make a commitment today, and then you come back in my busiest time and say, here's the bid you gave, you know, so. That's really where my question is, just trying to line up the horses as to who's responsible for what. I don't have any problem deferring to the council. I don't have any problem assuming any kind of responsibility. But my problem that I have, to be frankly honest with you, is I don't know what my authority is. And my understanding, having served on the council, is that the authority of the board is to make recommendations to the council. How thorough those recommendations are is limited by how much authority we have to go and get bids and all that. So I mean, we could get a general idea. This is what we thought, and we went to Home Depot and got the price of material. But it really is just still just a real rough figure to pass on to the council if they in fact are the ones that's gonna make the decision.
Yeah, they're gonna want those, and they have set aside $5,000 for that specific tree trimming service for this year. So, I mean, I think that you can make that recommendation and, you know, that just because you make that recommendation, then the council will take that recommendation and then roll.
That's
think-
right, and so I guess my argument is the recommendation we should be making is, council, don't forget the trees.
Yeah.
That should be it,
Exactly.
that should be it, and yet the accusation. Or the implications or, what I heard
Oh,
was that we should be making some kind of decision. But my feeling is, I don't know what decision we can make.
If I may interject here, I believe as a board, it's our responsibility to not just say we want this done. We do have a certain amount of budget. We have to work within the city's budget. And there are certain things that are earmarked. I think it's up to us if we say we want to put in steps or we want to trim trees, whatever it be with our parks, we should take the responsibility to come up with a ballpark figure. And that means just reaching out to friends. We're not committing ourselves to anything. We can reach out, we can find out, we can talk to other cities. There's a lot of things that we can do individually, and then we come and we put together a proposal for the council. This is what we'd like to do. This is what it entails. This is what we think this is what we've come up with. These are the things we don't know. And then we give it to the council and let them make a decision. And then it is their responsibility to make sure that they follow all the rules when it comes to hiring somebody. You know, like getting proper bids and stuff like that, going through your small works roster to get those bids, to get that's how I look at our responsibilities and our involvement in this. We do the preliminary and we give a good package. I think that's what Sherry's asking for, is a good detailed package, what we know, what we don't know, and what we think our costs are gonna be. And then let them make that decision.
And that is definitely 100% what I am looking for. Thank you, Mary.
And just to reiterate that, Sherry is responsible for the personnel of the city.
Mhm.
And so if you're looking for expertise as well, that should be a request to Sherry to actually task Public Works or
Right,
City Hall
yeah.
into looking into whatever the issue or whatever the item is.
Mhm.
So I think that this board is, an advisory committee for Sherry.
Mhm.
So the relationship needs to be established with her.
Right, okay, excellent. We can do that.
Sound right, Jerry?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So where's that leave us?
So we need to, for a lot of these things, to Cindy's point, a lot of these things, I think we should kind of take, some of us individually take offline and some of us take something and say, well, Cindy mentioned, or I'm sorry, Ruth mentioned that she knows somebody that does lights. She could just reach out and say, hey, give me a ballpark figure. I'm sure, so if each of us just take some of those things and then come back to the next meeting with some of that information, we may not have to have a lot of workshops. As opposed to, I think the campground rules, we need to kind of delve into that and make that a little, be pretty definite about that before we put it to the council. That makes sense? Just
Yeah.
maybe we each take on a little bit more.
One of the things we want to be careful so we don't overlap. Okay, I'll go check out some tree guys and then
Yeah.
you too. And then
Yeah.
You check. And then
Ex-
what's going on?
Exactly. That's kind of a thing that with in reaching out to Toledo Tel, I have to say it was a little bit frustrating because I reached out to him a few times and I know people here had reached out to him too. So I kind of felt like there was, and before I even reached out, people reached out. And so it was like, okay, we need to all, either somebody has to take it. And I was really glad actually when they said this is bigger than just the parks, because there's other things involved with the city for the Wi-Fi and so.
I have something this is what when I was talking on the phone, I probably should have mentioned it. Is there any way that we can make? I'm looking, just not Tim and I there, I'm looking for if there's any other future, park posts that we make that an address where we're at, which is the park, 600 something, but make it a space number. Because for our purpose, if I go and do anything, through, I don't know, because it shows that we don't live anywhere. And it shows that, like a PO box, you can't get things sent to a PO box. Which we learned, we do it a different way through Amazon. But even going, let's say I apply for a credit, right? They're going, you have no address. No, I live in a PO box. That's what I was saying, that they need a physical address. And there is a physical address, but if we can make where the park posts are, make that like a space number. Like space 00 or something to make it, you know, that there are people living there, not a camper, but somebody is, you know, there. Camp host, yeah. So that's.
I think that's a question for the postal service.
Well, no, because the postal service won't deliver either. Anyways,
I will go talk to them. I was.
I don't know how you designate an address.
You have to
How
have
do
a
you
box,
always
you'd have to have a
do
mailbox.
2 pallets and then use your PO box as a suite number. That's how we get around physical addresses all the time.
But, okay, my husband, Tim and I got Starlink. We put. That, it
Well, that's different because there's some lat longs, because they're actually,
yeah, they're
focused
not
on-
seeing it.
right.
But if we were using, like I'm saying, like anything that you, like a driver's license and stuff, you can't put that on your driver's license, you have to have a physical address. On, it's just, it's not recognizing.
Okay.
yeah, and I think you hit upon it, that you just have a space number.
Right,
And just create a unique space number for the host.
right,
And then, and you're not talking about the postal service,
No.
because they will not deliver there,
Correct.
I will tell you already.
Yeah.
My wife was postmaster for 8 years, right?
right,
So, but what you can do is that you got Amazon, you got UPS, you got FedEx, you got the Starlink, all those want a physical address, but if you had the physical address and whatever unique space number, so it's just a matter of somebody, the city council, just saying from now on, that space number, how many spaces do you rent out now? 16?
yeah, but I think if we put ours like a weird,
Yeah,
like
it's that,
space 50 or something.
or
something.
AA, or, yeah, space
Right,
A, yeah.
something.
And, but some unique, spaces number, and then you can actually, create that site with Google Earth and all that. I mean,
Correct.
once you get that address, whatever it is, you know, so,
SpaceX.
yeah. Yeah, there you go.
I had one more thing. Sorry. I had a suggestion of making more pull-through spaces for camping that were similar to the one that makes the most money. Not sure which one that was.
Good point.
That particular one is length as well.
Yeah, length, but make two more that are
Do we have
that.
the space for
Yeah.
it? Do we have a space
I'm
to
sure
do
we
that?
Yeah, you've got a huge park.
Is that possible, Mike?
I don't know, but that was an idea that I was just
Over
gonna
survey
throw
it, I guess.
Yeah.
out. But
I know we
because
talked about 10 sites.
that one made a lot of money for the city last year, and so my suggestion. Okay,
Okay.
Doing the physical work wouldn't be the big deal, it would be finding the spot to do it.
Yeah.
Because now you have electricity and water.
Yes.
And everything else that needs to get wherever you're going to put that, so.
Right.
Well, Stephanie, you really want to do this?
I think I do.
Okay, good.
You see the wheels in her head just turning.
Okay, well, any other public input?
I do have one thing. When we do host our council meetings,
Mhm.
we do have a section for the park board for updates. So if it's not possible for a park board member to be there, if you guys could maybe email us in just, your short report as what's going on, what you're currently working on, that type of thing, just something super quick, does not have to be super detailed, but that way we can present that at our council meetings.
Yeah. we should do that.
The secretary, we have a secretary here.
She's not a secretary.
No.
Or, okay. She's the volunteer.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Well, so to follow up on Sherry's,
Mhm.
generally those reports are fairly informal. It's not regurgitating meeting minutes. So if there are the most important things in front of you, if it's the most something urgent that needs to be brought to council, I mean, you have a spot at every council meeting that you could be speaking.
Maybe we could all take a month or something. We could take turns and take months or something, so nobody has to commit to all of them.
Yeah, Steve Birch comes to every council meeting and does a planning commission report every council.
Every
meeting.
council meeting. So somebody should, yeah.
Okay. Again, Friday. we
Yeah.
can flip a coin or something.
Yeah. I do agree with what Cindy said about maybe do more working sessions here and not having to take so much of it off.
Right,
you know,
yeah.
so,
This is our first
Yeah,
meeting of
We'll figure this out.
organized
Yeah, yeah.
meeting. Okay, motion to adjourn,
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye. Great.
Hi, Sherry.
I have a good day, guys.
Thank you, Sherry.